with us.
All right. So as you guys just heard, I am Ryan Furry. I will be presenting the Apache Junction case along with David Howes and Austin Augie. So just an overview of what we're going to be looking at in this presentation. I'll give a quick background information, our understanding of the problem that you came to us with, and an assessment of current solid waste strategies in Apache Junction. And then Austin will be looking at 3 benchmark cities that all have found success in their solid waste programs and whatnot. And then David will take the rest of it to look at compliance and state and city mandates. Next slide. Okay, so you all came to us looking for constructive suggestions for your solid waste and hazardous waste policies and practices. And so from right now, Apache Junction currently does not mandate trash pickup for their citizens. And the landfill, that makes it more of a pressing problem is that the landfill right on the edge of Apache Junction is something that Apache Junction would like filled up to move on with further planning. And as of right now, the prospective date keeps getting moved up and up and up for when that landfill will be closed. So it's not really that the landfill is hurting as much as having it not filled is keeping you back from full potential. You also have the ordinance in place in Apache Junction of if we can't see it, it doesn't exist behind the backyard fences and whatnot. And then resident transfer stations, from what I've seen around Apache Junction, if it's not within the city of Apache Junction, citizens cannot use, say, the Casa Grande transfer station. You have to prove your residency. So, current look at what you do have right now is 3 different waste contractors, Waste Management, Republic Services, who owns the landfill right there, and then Right-of-Way Disposal, who actually does the contracting for Queen Creek, we just learned. So one neighborhood cleanup 4 days a year, a dump day, 4 dump days a year where, like, say here, people can bring their trucks over
Is that
to.
in AJ?
I'm pretty sure this is from an Apache Junction affiliated link. So.
I'm not surprised.
We try to block it out, but we're surprised. People are creative about one actually truck. They actually say 1 truck.
That's a truckload, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And so then you had your transfer station, which we found did do recycling, but was not receiving hazardous waste currently at the moment. All right, so now I'm going to pass it to Austin.
To further improve Apache Junction's waste and recycling program, we have identified 3 comparable cities based on population size, geographic similarities, and then the success of their waste management programs. In the end, we chose Buckeye, Queen Creek, and Fountain Hills because they best met the criteria. And the first city that we're going to look at is Buckeye. Buckeye is located in the middle of Maricopa County and has a population of 66,000 and an area of 392 square miles. We found that in their best practices, they have a single waste provider, which allows them to reduce pollution, gas usage, along with reduced wear and tear on the roads in the community. And for their second, they have a relatively cheap service fee around the valley. And then for their last, they have a recycling education plan that they're implementing in their school systems. For their service fee, they're currently charging $19.87 a month for 1 trash and recycling bin pickup for once a week. And that also includes scheduled bulk pickup and scheduled green waste pickup, and then at the end they have hazardous waste drop-off on scheduled days throughout the year. For their recycling education program, they are starting to implement this into schools, which is really important because if your community doesn't know how to recycle properly, then your program isn't very effective, and you're going to have to work with them on that and make it more worthwhile. The second city that we're looking at is Queen Creek, which is located southeast of Phoenix with a population of 33,000 and an area of about 28.5 square miles. And they're the first in the valley to implement a single service waste provider, and that is actually one of their best practices. And their second best practice is that they have the third cheapest service fee in the valley, which is at $16.22 a month, and that includes the once a week trash and recycling pickup, once a month scheduled bulk pickup, and then that includes scheduled dates throughout the year for e-waste, recycled tires, and recycled Christmas trees. For their last, they have made a long-term contract with Rad Disposal. It's a 7-year contract with 3 available 1-year renews if they would like to use that. The plus to this contract is that they were able to obtain brand new trash trucks for their community because they requested that they didn't have anything over 7 years old to reduce the amount of oil and other chemicals spilling on the road from them driving around. Next one. And then the last comparable city we have is Fountain Hills, which is located northeast of Phoenix and has a population of 23,000 and in an area of 18.2 square miles. To make sure that they had a solid plan from the start, Fountain Hills based some of their programs off of Queen Creek's, and one of the things that they implemented is the single service waste provider, which again allows them to cut pollution and increase the longevity of their streets throughout the community. Some of their best practices is that they have 4 options for trash and recycling pickup. The first one is 1 trash and 1 recycling can, once a week pickup for $34.73 per quarter. And then for the second option, it's 2 trash and 1 recycling for once a week pickup for $49.91 a quarter, which is every 3 months. And then for the third option, they have 2 trash and 1 recyclable for twice a week pickup for $49.91, and then the last option is just 2 trash cans and no recycling for twice a week pickup for $49.91 a quarter. Even though that they have their residents pay in a quarterly amount, if you break it down to monthly fees, it comes up to about $11.57 a month, which is really cheap compared to any other city in the valley. The last thing that we noticed was the Republic Rewards program. So people in the community that recycle, they earn points on a weekly basis that they're able to use at local grocery stores or national level grocery stores for discounted prices. And Republic Services also does a community grant program once a year where they raise some money up and residents get to vote on which organization they want to have the money with the points that they've earned through the recycling program. And this is Fountain Hills curbside trash and recycling schedule. Since they have 4 different, they didn't want everything running on the same days, so they have it strategically pushed out. Now Dave is going to talk about the policies and mandates of Apache Junction.
Okay, so for this section, we really wanted to cover this because there were some early questions and concerns whether or not Apache Junction was actually legally allowed to not require their residents to have a contract for solid waste collection. So after we looked through the Apache Junction City Code, we focused on Article 9.5, which detailed the collection of residential solid waste. And throughout the article, it was mostly focused on what days trash collection can happen on, things for like vehicle maintenance, and mostly detailing how trash will be collected within the city. As we kind of suspected, we did not find any mandates requiring residents to have a contract for trash collection. We also didn't see any mention of addressing proper disposal of hazardous waste. So then, after that, we wanted to take a look at the state and county mandates. So in all three, the Arizona Administration Code and the Environmental Health Code for both Maricopa and Pinal counties, we found sections that detail that collection needs to be required. And the Arizona Administration Code and the Maricopa County Health Code both had similar language, while it was a little more fuzzy with Pinal County. But essentially, in that section, it said where services are available, then trash must be collected. So I'll come back to that in a minute, but to move forward, I'm going to go over just a couple of tools and resources that we wanted to highlight. So one of the ones that we really liked came from the EPA, and it was for managing and transforming waste streams. So this tool focused on best practices and policies and programs that are implemented around the country. And this tool, you can kind of customize your search to kind of make it fit to your city. So you can adjust it based on like what sector you want to focus on, certain materials, diversion potential. So you can get a lot of good ideas from that. And in our report, we highlighted about 8 of them, but I'll just give you a couple of examples. In Monterey, California, there is a facility called Last Chance Mercantile. And this was set up not only by the city of Monterey, but surrounding cities in their region. So they set it up as a reuse center, and they pretty much collect household items, furniture, as you can see in the picture, things like books and stuff that would be better used to like circulate within the community instead of just having the option of throwing it away. And the next example would be actually down in Tucson. So what they did for their collection cans was they let the residents choose what size they wanted. So if you have a smaller family, you can have a smaller collection bin and have a reduced rate for that, which might be important going forward if the residents of AJ are going to be worried about cost. And then to look at some of the hazardous waste options in the area. There are centers for waste tire collection and green waste and used oil that both Pinal County and Maricopa County offer, but a lot of them are actually, almost all of them are not within Apache Junction city limits. So, I mean, with Apache Junction being partially a part of both counties, it seems like neither of them are really helping the city to its full potential, because to have to drive to Florence or Coolidge to find a decent place to drop off hazardous waste might just be too much for the residents. And now I'll move on to some recommendations, and we'll start out with some short-term ones. So after having a talk with Queen Creek, we thought it would be a good idea to establish a solid waste task force, just because for some of the ideas that you guys are going to want having going forward, it's going to be a lot of work to implement, and it would be really beneficial to have a dedicated team onto that. And yeah, I think very soon it would be good to address the possible issues of non-compliance with the state statutes as far as trash collection, just to avoid any legal trouble in the future. And we would also suggest looking into utilizing solid waste management networks. For instance, the Maricopa Association of Governments, which Apache Junction is actually already a part of, they have a solid waste management planning division. I'm just not too sure how much that's being utilized, but that is definitely one option. And to go off on the facility that I highlighted earlier, we think it would be beneficial to establish a physical center open all the time in Apache Junction to be able to accept household and hazardous waste, and possibly use it as a reuse center as well. So that could be done in the same way that Monterey did it, by looking into a partnership with other cities, or if that wouldn't be an option, maybe hiring a private contractor to do that. And then we definitely all believe that engaging with the community early on in this process is going to be important. So as we were speaking to Buckeye, they said that that was one of the biggest challenges that they actually faced when they were implementing their new system. So, and for the long term, we agreed that amending the city code at some point is going to be important. If you are in non-compliance with state statutes, that's going to be important to work into your new city code, and that will also actually give you some leverage if you're coming to your city council saying, hey, we want to make changes going forward, and we need to make changes going forward. And also, it's going to be important to do that because if AJ is going to be growing, it's going to be important for them to stay competitive. So as the city grows, you guys want to be able to offer at least similar services as your surrounding cities. And as far as moving forward with a collection plan, when we considered either contracting with one company, possibly taking over the operation yourselves, we agreed that it would be beneficial and probably a lot easier to stick with one contract with one company. One of the reasons is if you want to go forward handling it yourself, it's going to be a very, very large investment. That's what Buckeye ran into. But thankfully, you do have some options if you want to do that. Queen Creek has already had experience, which Fountain Hills has taken advantage of. So you can utilize existing contracts and kind of modify it to suit your needs. And a part of that would be drafting a request for a proposal, which would pretty much be a document that you would send to the waste management collection agencies in the area and have them bid for the contract. So, and in that you could highlight like specific needs that the city of AJ would have, like since there's such a large population that is gone here for the winter and gone for other parts of the year, like a vacation hold service would be something that could be worked into the contract. And yeah, we also think if you would move forward with one contract, that it would be important to include recycling at the same time, just to have set that precedence moving forward. And that's all we have. So.
Yeah, so thank you.